pay the expenses to that paragraph, it says the buyers has agreed to pay either a dollar amount or a percentage. I went to a training on Tuesday that's hosted by Brian. He's one of the brokers, one of the attorneys of the broker lawyer committee, and he basically said that that line is reflecting what we have signed as a buyer's agent with the buyer. But we had an agent who just closed with the Republic Title, and the Republic Title told him that whatever the buyer is agreeing to pay the seller's agent should go into paragraph 12A1B. So I want to hear what you're trying, what are EXPs basically the school of thought.
Well, so, and we've called Texas Realtors on this. Paragraph 12A1B, it says the following amount to be applied to brokerage fees that buyer has agreed to pay. So in other words, that is for the buyer concessions.
Okay.
Now, then C is for closing cost, like we used to have.
Right. So that number, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's good. It's whatever the buyer agent, it shouldn't be more than what the buyer agent, they might have said selling agent sometimes is not listing. Sometimes it's considered buyer agent. So whatever the buyer agreement says, whatever's in that paragraph is what the buyer will receive as concessions to pay whatever fee is in the buyer representation agreement. That's how it's written?
Right. That's my understanding. So whatever the buyer rep agreement says, it should reflect here at 12A1B, yes. Right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. I think everyone's clear on that. Very special. The buyer pays both buyer agent and listing agent. Okay. Yeah. So the question was that his case was, I think he had like a really nice property that's the people are fighting for it. So the buyer agreed to pay both broker fees. So the buyer agreed to pay the listing broker fee and the buyer broker
fee. So that's a problem because we don't have agreement with the listing agent to pay that. So what needs to happen is the buyer can increase their cash down by the amount they want to offer. Okay. Because we don't have a way on the buy side to pay both sides because we don't have an agreement with the listing broker on how to be compensated. So we have to just adjust it with the sales price. So instead of paying that, the buyer just needs to put down more money in cash over what the original sales price was going to be they wanted to offer. Does that make sense?
Well, in operation, yes, we can do that. But what kind of number? For example, if the buyer has agreed to pay 2% to the seller's listing agent, a listing broker, and 3% to the buyer's broker, and then what number should we put in this 12A1B? Is it 3? Is it 2? Is it 5?
Well, you can't put all that. 3. The buyer's paying our fee. That's the only one we can be concerned with. A buyer agent can't get money. The buyer themselves cannot pay a listing broker fee because they don't have an agreement. So that shouldn't be in that. So that 2% should be whatever the dollar is, should be added on top of the sales price of what the buyer was going to offer. And then the seller and the listing agent can, that pays for it. You see, so the listing agent still gets paid, but the seller gets paid an additional 2%. Do you see on top of that to offset that listing broker's fee?
I see.
Does that help?
Yes.
I need to probably see what they did. to help.
So what they did is they put 2% there. So the title company instructed one of our agents to put 2% in that 12A1B to say that is the commission paid to the listing agent fee. I think that's wrong. So based on what you just said, I think you're agreeing with me that
we shouldn't put anything in there.
Right. That number
for the seller, the listing.
You need to talk to Republic Title.
So what you're saying is also what I'm thinking is that number that goes into 12A1B is the number that's coming out of the buyer rep agreement. That's to the buyer's agent, correct?
Yeah,
So-
just
so-
the 3%. Yeah.
so
Do you
from
want
a-
me, do we want to get the agent on the phone?
No, I'll have them come talk to you or send a text.
I'm going to be out of office for the rest of the day, probably. My mother had surgery, so
I'm
I've
sorry
got to
to
go run it. No, she's fine. Everybody's good. No, it's hip replacement. She's kicking butt, Daniel. Thank you.
Okay.
And how, literally kicking butt. Now, Daniel, how's your wife?
Wife's doing good. Thank you.
Good. Okay. Go. So
Well, thank you for
Okay.
the clarification. I think we got what you're trying to say, and we
So,
agree
yeah.
with you.
get with the title company and let's amend this contract to read properly, because we can't have an agreement with someone we don't have a representation agreement with, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, we can't, I mean, and so I know agents think, I know that we just need to have the buyer pay the additional money that would offset the listing broker's fee of what they intend to cover.
Right.
And then the seller gets that money and it's in their pocket, but the listing agent still gets paid the same thing because nothing changes.
So I guess
Right.
from a title
Right.
company's perspective, when they're looking at the contract,
Yeah.
does the listing agent need to show what they're getting paid for, compensated? Because
No,
how does the
no.
how does the title company know on the CDA? I guess the CDA, right?
Yeah.
Because the CDA is the original listing agreement with the seller, they're getting paid. The buyer's just giving additional, since they're saying, I'm going to pay you more. All they're saying is they're going to pay more money. That's all they're saying. They're not paying a fee, right?
Yeah.
So the buyer's not actually paying the fee. They're just giving more money, which helps the seller net more money. The listing agreement doesn't change. They're just going to compensate the seller for more money that they can offset their costs to their listing agent. So what the title company needs to do is,
because you're paying higher on the sales price. So
Yeah.
that's another issue, because you're paying higher on the sales price will reflect on the title company. I mean, for the property taxes too.
that's right. Well,
But that's the
I don't,
way it's always been. That's the way it's always been, because the sales
Yeah.
price is always the base to calculate all the agent fees.
True. That's true.
So it's
That's good.
always been.
Same thing.
Yeah, same thing.
but yeah, I mean, either way, I mean, it's multi-offers what it is. And maybe that's what they're thinking. I think they could talk to a CPA and say, hey, we were offsetting. I mean, again, we can't make an agreement with the listing agent. So we're not going to be able to resolve that part, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Because it'd be a conflict of interest.
Right.
What is in titles? What are they saying?
They're saying to put the percentage that is being paid to the listing agent in that 12A1B. I think it's wrong.
I think it's incorrect.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see, because it says the following amount applied to Berkshire's that buyer has agreed to pay, but we don't have another agreement to pay for the listing agent. You see?
Yes, I agree. We don't
It
have an
becomes a
agreement.
problem.
There's no form anywhere we actually sign anything with the listing broker.
Yeah.
Okay.
If they want to talk through it with me, let me know. Since I'm already aware of this, I'm running errands and I'll be around. I'm not out of pocket. Okay.
Yeah.
But
But if he needs it, I can create a workplace chat with Teresa and him.
yeah, I'll be checking my workplace
Yeah.
and then I can say, y'all call me.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Okay.
I'm going to be around. I'm going to get my hair cut too.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
The gray out, Daniel.
Can tell.
Thank you very much.
Let me know what you need. Okay. Just
Okay.
workplace chat me and I'll say, hey, I'm available here. Tell me when you want to talk and let's figure it out. Okay.
Okay. Thank
you,
you.
Karen. Bye.
All right. Talk to you soon.
Thank
Bye.
you.